All right. So, Ryan's been talking about James. We're going to move on. We're going to focus on a book called 2 Timothy. Now, the book of Timothy. Does anyone know what the book of Timothy is? What it actually is? Gage.
It's a book in the Bible.
It's a book in the Bible, yes. Okay, but what is it? It's not a book. It's not actually a book. Sean?
Person.
No. Well, Timothy is a person.
Story.
It's not a story.
Another version of Timothy.
No.
Are they letters?
It's a letter. Okay, the book of Timothy is actually a letter written by Paul to Timothy. Alright, it's a letter. Now, in the book of Timothy, Paul is writing to Timothy, telling him, encouraging him to not lose his faith, to do all these things, how he's proud of him and all this stuff. Okay, so, I'm going to read to you a verse from 2 Timothy. It says, "For God," now remember, this is Paul writing to Timothy, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So never be ashamed to tell others about our Lord." Okay, so, what does that verse say? God gives us a spirit of what? Hunter.
Wisdom.
What?
Wisdom.
Not wisdom. There were 3 words in there. God gives us a spirit of what, Gage?
A spirit of.
First one starts with a P.
Peace.
No. Adrian,
Oh, I forgot.
I'll read it to you again.
Wait, his name's not
Shh,
Adrian.
listen. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." So what 3 things does God's Spirit give us? Hunter, name one of them. Power.
Love.
Love.
Those are the only ones I know. I didn't say last one. Discipline.
Self-discipline. All right, now, what are the 2 things that God's Spirit doesn't give us? Fear. Now, we're going to focus on fear. The other one's timidity, but it's kind of the same thing as fear. Okay, look. Now,
Even a word?
yes, okay. Now, I'm going to hit, this brings me to my visual aid. Okay, you ready? Okay, what is this? Anyone know what this is? No, it's not just a drill. What do people call this? This is a
power tool.
It's a hey.
Power tool right here.
This is a power tool.
Unless you
Okay, remember, God gives us the spirit of power. Okay, now in order to use, some people might say, in order to use a power tool, you need to have, don't talk, you need to have self-discipline. So we got power, self-discipline. Haven't really tied in love to this yet. You know, you need to love your drill, maybe. Okay, but power, this is a power tool. Okay, so we got power. Now, look at this. What is this?
This is a glove. A hand tool.
This is a screwdriver.
Oh, come on.
Is this a power tool?
No.
No.
A glove.
Okay, this is not a power tool. Now, so,
Love.
this is people without God. This little non-power tool, screwdriver. Now, if I were to take this screw and try to put it in this piece of wood with this, without God, it doesn't really work. It's too weak. It's weak. It doesn't really work. Now, eventually, maybe. Okay, it doesn't work. But if I had God with me and His Spirit of power, and I took this thing, guys, Hunter, I get it. The battery's kind of dead. Okay, but it gets in there. Okay, I have God's power now. Listen, this verse, the next verse says, "So never be ashamed to tell others about the Lord." Now, this power that God gives us, okay, it has nothing to do with physical strength. It has nothing to do with physical strength. Okay, it says, don't ever be ashamed to talk about our Lord. Okay, we're getting into a time in this world. Okay, in college, my college. If I go to college and I go around in certain classes and I say that I'm a Christian, I'll get made fun of. Jesus is not a popular subject nowadays. Unfortunately, it's getting worse, and it's going to be really hard for you guys when you're older. Okay, but God says, Paul says in this verse, he says, so never be ashamed. Okay, if you have God, if you had God's power, okay, you'll never be afraid to talk about Jesus to anybody, no matter what. Without God, you're like this little screwdriver. Okay, weak, fearful. If someone comes up and asks you about God that you know or questions you about God, you're going to be afraid to talk about it because you don't want to get made fun of. Because you're a little screwdriver. You don't have God's power in you. Okay, God will give you that power so that you don't have to be afraid. That's what this verse is talking about. Okay, not about being physically strong, not about using this thing to put this drill, put the screw in the wood. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. It's God's power. Okay, God can give you the spirit to never be afraid because He'll be with you. Alright, I didn't drill this screw in. God drilled it in with His power. Okay, so that's all.